The Amaran 200D is a 200 watt daylight balanced LED fixture with effects and wireless control, all for only $299 US. Aperture have been leaders in affordable LED lighting tech for years now, and many of us are very familiar with their popular Lightstorm lineup, which includes the 120D, the 300D, the 600D, and now the 1200D because Aperture wants to compete with the sun for some reason. All I'm saying is that this sounds an awful lot like the beginning of a nefarious Batman villain plot. We should probably keep an eye on Aperture. That's all I'm saying. Now they've come out with the Amaran line, which contains all the same power and punch as the Lightstorm lineup, with a few sacrifices to get that price down even further, to the point where I can actually afford one. So it's a good day and I'm feeling good. However, those sacrifices are also balanced out by some really nice and handy new features. Before we get to the review, real quick disclaimer that this is not sponsored in any way. I have not been in touch with Aperture, and I bought this product with my own money because that's something I can actually afford to do now. The first thing you'll notice is that right out of the box, the build quality, while still good, is not on the same level as the Lightstorm lineup, and that's one reason they're able to get the price down a little bit lower. It feels very solid on its own, but if you've used the Lightstorm lineup, you can tell that there is a bit of a difference. The 200D just seems a little bit plasticky by comparison, and seems to have a bit less of a reinforced design. I wouldn't necessarily be worried about it getting scratched or dented, but I think I would treat it with a little bit more care than I'd have to treat a 300D. On some of the first batches, there were concerns about this thumb screw here that tightens down to the actual light stand. Some reviewers tightened it so much that it actually cracked the outer casing here. The good news is it looks like they've since revised the design and reinforced the area around where that screw tightens down. Now, obviously, I didn't hold those original ones in my hands, but this does not seem at all like it's at risk of cracking anymore. Ultimately, it feels solid. I don't have any concerns, but it just doesn't seem as durable as its more expensive counterparts, which were just magically indestructible and seemingly made of the same stuff they make UFOs out of, because you could just do anything to those lights. Once you get the 200D hooked up, you can control the brightness from the back using a knob that can adjust in either 1% increments or 20% increments by pressing the knob, which also acts as a button. The rear screen gives you a readout of the settings as well as a Bluetooth connectivity indicator, which we'll talk about more in a little bit. The screen is nice and large and clear, but it can be hard to see at certain viewing angles or in very bright environments. As a totally random side note, the power supply comes with a metal cable on it, so you can easily hang that power supply on a light stand. I gotta give a couple bonus points for those added accessories. That helps a lot. Speaking of accessories, this features a universal Bowens mount on the front, so you can use any lighting modifier from any company that uses that same Bowens mount, which just gives you an insane variety of options. I personally really wanted a softbox that could be set up as quickly as possible, so I went and got myself the new small rig softbox, which pops on here with ease. These attachments are super easy to take off by pulling back on the locking mechanism and just twisting. It also has a built-in umbrella holder, which is a form of diffusion that I never, ever see used, but it's something the more expensive products don't have, and it's really nice to be able to have options. The light comes with a reflector, as you can see here, but as many reviewers have probably already told you, it's not the best reflector design. It creates a very strong hotspot in the middle compared to the previous reflector design that they've been using for years. The good news is that if that's a problem for you, you can go on Aperture's website and buy the old design for about $30 US. If that's more than you want to pay, or you prefer a different design, you can always get something from any other manufacturer as well. On paper, we already know this thing is bright. It's 200 watt output with 8200 lux at 1 meter. But I don't speak hieroglyphics, so I don't know what any of that actually means in the real world. So let me just tell you, it is very bright. I've had this for a couple weeks, and I tried to use it as a ceiling bounce in my last YouTube video, and it was too bright at 1%. I wish I was joking. Just for context, I've got a Falconized light mat as my key light here. It is at 30% right now. And this is 1%. Competing with the sun. This is great because you always want to get a light that's a little bit more powerful than you think you'll actually need. Because once you put a softbox on it, or you're punching it through a 4x4 frame of diffusion, you're going to be experiencing quite a bit of light loss. A lot of modern softbox designs incorporate 2 layers of diffusion already, not just with the visible front layer that you can see, but also a smaller layer inside closer to the source to help break up that light and make sure you don't get any hotspots on your subject. So having that extra power to make sure you punch through all of that diffusion is great. It's gonna make sure that you make up for any of that light loss. And that's really what makes this so notable in the first place. This is the first time technology has actually gotten to a point where the price to output ratio makes this accessible to all filmmakers at all levels. The reason it took me so long to purchase a key light like this is not just because it cost $1,000, but it's because anything cheaper than that just simply didn't work practically. For so many years, anything shy of that $1,000 price was either going to sacrifice output or it's going to sacrifice color rendering. And those are just not things that you can give up when you're on set. You need enough light for the shot, and it needs to not have horrible colors that you can't get rid of in grading. Now, something this budget model actually has over the more expensive Lightstorm lineup is the built-in wireless functionality and effects. We can connect to the fixture wirelessly over Bluetooth and have full control through Aputure's SidusLink mobile app. This is also how we're able to access the effects that the fixture offers, including things like TV, fireworks, explosion, and a faulty bulb effect. Now, yes, Aputure has confirmed that now you can do those same effects with their legacy products, all the old Lightstorm lights that you love. But in order to do that, you have to buy an additional $89 accessory to get those effects working in the legacy products. So to me, I don't consider that built-in functionality. This is a huge selling point for me personally because I'm always trying to get away from static lighting setups in my music videos and get to more dynamic lighting. And animating your lights is one great way to achieve that. We can easily group these lights together and control large amounts of them all at once, thanks to the app's pretty extensive functionality. One thing I really like about SidusLink that other apps don't have is it allows you to just control the lights without logging in or creating an account using the guest mode. Most of these remote controlled lights require you to sign up for an account and log into that account in order to control them, including stuff like my Pavo tubes and even my Govee wall light back here. I understand this can really help secure those lights and make sure nobody else can connect to them, but having the option to just go pick up a dozen of these at a rental, go straight to the shoot and start working is just better. That just takes away one more barrier between where I'm at and being able to actually hit record and start working. And anything that saves me that time on set is always going to get a big thumbs up. Now that we have a good idea about what this light is capable of, let's talk about the good stuff and the bad stuff. Once again, the price to performance ratio here is nuts, both in terms of the actual output performance and the color rendering performance. The quality and variety of lighting setups that we're gonna see from beginning filmmakers is gonna be so much cooler. I wish I would have had something like this when I was starting out 5 years ago. I would have killed to have those kind of options at such an affordable price. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not a do-it-all light. It doesn't have RGB or pixel effects or any of that crazy fun stuff. But it does cover a wide variety of common shooting scenarios that you're gonna be in every day of your career. And it does that really well. Truthfully, I can't ask for more than that given the price point. But I'm gonna. As great as it is to have all these amazing effects built in thanks to the SidusLink app, I think it's a little ridiculous that I can't access them at all without using the app. Now, asking for the 200D to give me the same level of control as the app would absolutely be completely unreasonable. But the least you could have done is given me the ability to maybe access some preset versions of those effects where I can't modify the speed or anything like that, only the brightness. It's not like it would have required any design changes because we already have 2 buttons on here. There's no reason we couldn't have just programmed maybe a press and hold to access the effects side of things and cycle through those presets. Another area where they're able to cut costs is that this light doesn't have the same easy ability to loosen all the adjustment knobs and freely pan and tilt your light around as you do with the more expensive models. The Amaran line lacks the same easy adjusting yoke system as the Lightstorm line, and while I can still loosen up all the knobs and add some dynamic movement to my spotlight effects, it's not nearly as easy to control, and it feels like I really have to fight the light to get smooth movement that isn't perfectly horizontal or perfectly vertical. Anything diagonal or circular is very tough to pull off. Most people aren't going to be bothered by this, but for someone like myself that works on a lot of productions that have more dynamic lighting and like to have those moving spotlight effects, this is a little bit of a letdown. While I understand why a light like this doesn't come with a carrying case included, I am a little bit bummed out that I can't even buy one as an optional accessory from Aperture. I want an easy way to transport this, and I'm okay with paying an extra fee to do that, but as far as I could tell on the Aperture website, they just don't sell one. I can always just buy a random bag and stuff everything in there, but I prefer a form-fitted, dedicated case because it's usually better at protection and it usually takes up less space as well. Not only that, but it's so much better for identification on set. When I can see a bag that says Amaran 200D, I can find what I'm looking for. When I just see the 47th generic black carrying case stacked in the corner, I know I'm gonna have a really bad time trying to find what I need. Now, maybe I'm an idiot and I missed it on the website, or maybe there's a great third-party case that I can get for real cheap, but none of that matters because there's still another problem. You see, SmallRig just came out with their lighting line, and they're a direct competitor to these Amaran lights. They have a very similar design and form factor, similar outputs, built-in effects, you name it. And they all come with carrying cases. It's easy to assume with a budget light like this that it's just not financially feasible to include a case, but SmallRig went and proved them wrong. Even with their 120 watt model, which is only $219, it still includes a carrying case. To me, that says that Aperture could afford to include a carrying case, but that they just didn't want to. And that kind of bugs me. I may be buying a budget light, but that doesn't mean that I'm not a working professional and don't need to transport this to shoot locations. And lastly, the smallest, most ridiculous complaint ever is that I wish 1% on this light was dimmer. It really doesn't feel like 1 to 100%. It really feels like you go from 20 to 100%. Maybe it's not possible to get any dimmer. Maybe you can't just underpower the LEDs. I don't know. But I just wish I could use it in smaller spaces, even dimmer, just to add that little bit of extra flexibility. Is it a very stupid thing to complain that your very affordable light is brighter than the sun? Yes, but I'm doing it anyway. In all seriousness though, I think all of these downsides are things that you can very easily look past. They're minor annoyances and they're inconvenient, but unless you're the kind of person that wants to light every single scene to look like a thunderstorm and you literally don't own a phone, I think you'll be fine. So what do you think? Is this something that you're gonna pick up? And if not, what would you get instead and why? Leave me a comment letting me know. And if you liked this, if it was helpful, I'd appreciate you subscribing to this channel for more stuff like this in the future. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your time and I hope to see you in the next video.